All right, well, welcome everyone to today's Process Mining Academy session. This is the first of 2024. Today, we'll be looking at how to apply ServiceNow's in-platform process mining solution to applications you've reimagined on the platform with App Engine. I've always felt that all of the intelligence capabilities, whether it be reporting, performance analytics, the virtual agent, and now process mining, are some of the biggest benefits that you get from creating applications or creating an app with App Engine and running it on the Now platform. This ability to apply process mining to custom applications has been available since the Tokyo release and has definitely been a highly requested Academy topic, so I'm happy we're finally getting to cover it today. But before we get to the main course, let's quickly get the logistics out of the way. Since this is the first session of 2024, I'll just remind everyone that we're going to continue with our monthly cadence for these Academy sessions this year. We'll be using the same webinar invite, and I'll be adding dates to that. I hope that adds the new dates to your calendar as well. I think it has, since you've all found your way here today. The purpose of these sessions are to help us all get better educated on ServiceNow's process mining capabilities. So we'll provide how-tos, practical guidance, use cases, product updates, and as a group, just exchange ideas and collaborate so we all continue to get better. How these sessions work: we have a scheduled topic that we will cover for about the first 30 minutes. Today might be a little bit quicker, we'll see. We'll then open it up for questions on a chosen topic for that session. Then we'll open up for questions above and beyond the day's topic, sort of like an office hours. These sessions are always recorded, if I remember to hit that record button, and we eventually post them on the community site. If you could, just put your questions in the Q&A section. I do my best to answer them throughout, and I definitely get to them at the end. And then for situations where we don't have an answer for your question immediately, we usually follow up and post them to the process mining community, or maybe use them as a topic for a future session. Now, this is the slide that says, hey, anything I say and do here today can't be held against me in the court of law. It's also the slide that says, as part of these conversations, if we happen to make any forward-looking statements about things that might be coming in future releases, you should take them as such, make no decisions based on them whatsoever, because they're always subject to change, and I'm assuming you've all read the fine print. For those that I've not met before, my name's Dan Grady. I'm part of the product management team here at ServiceNow, focused on our in-platform process mining solution. What we'll be covering here today, we'll do a quick process mining 101 for the newcomers, I expect, because this is like a workflow-based topic that we might have some new folks joining because they're interested in specifically the topic of process mining for creative workflows. So we'll do that quick 101. And then we'll get into specifically kind of what you need to do to get process mining set up for applications you're creating on your own. So we'll talk about audit log data, the process configuration record. And then we'll jump over to a demo. I'll do a quick little intro demo for those newcomers to kind of see a little bit of the slicing and dicing that you can do inside of the process mining workspace. Then we'll look at kind of where you would configure kind of that auditing is turned on for a record. We'll look at how you create a process configuration record for a custom app. We'll create some automated findings for that application, and then we'll create our first project for that app. So you'll get to see the full process. We'll get your questions answered, and then we'll dive into some additional resources that are out there above and beyond this specific Academy session. All right. As always, the quick process mining 101 for the newcomers. So with everything we do, there's a design and desired path in our minds for how it should work and how things should play out, whether that be planning an event like these Academy sessions or a workflow. And when you design things, you design for efficiency as well as completeness to provide the best experience possible for as many people as possible. Unfortunately, what we design isn't always what ends up happening in reality. The reality is that not all the work flowing through the process is going to take the optimal path, and that's going to have a negative impact on the experience that both employees requesting service are having, as well as the people that are trying to deliver that service. Identifying what's actually happening within our workflows and our business processes and then improving them isn't always easy. What process mining allows us to do is use the audit log data that is generated as records move through a given workflow to create a visual representation of what's actually happening within our given process, shows us the reality. And this new level of visibility is going to help us accelerate our ability to identify inefficiencies, non-conformant process activities, and improvement opportunities. So process mining is going to give us that ability to answer process questions that have really been challenging for a lot of us to answer over the years. So whereas traditional analytics allow us to answer a lot of the what questions about our processes, process mining helps us answer the why. So things like, where is the process getting stuck? Where is there rework happening? Where is work ping-ponging between groups or teams? And where aren't we conforming to the process that we've designed? These are all things that have historically been hard to answer and act upon, and now they're available to us in just a couple of clicks. Actually, you're going to see some of those clicks here today. We like to say that process mining is going to get you to the why behind all of your KPIs, and in doing so, empower everyone involved in the process to make data-driven decisions about which improvements to make. And we can apply process mining to a single table, like this incident example here, or a multi-table process. So for example, a request that has both items and tasks, where you may want to identify approval bottlenecks at the request or requested item level, and then look for work-related inefficiencies at the SE task level. As you may have heard me say before, this multidimensional approach is also really powerful when we start looking at things like HR lifecycle events or onboarding, where you have a high-level onboarding case and then a bunch of subtasks and requests involved in the process. As of the Vancouver release, we can apply process mining to process data imported into the platform from external applications, like this hiring process here, driven by data pulled from smart recruiters. This external data piece, I'm going to touch on this in a minute, a little bit deeper, just because it's something that we're seeing customers that are looking to reimagine applications on the ServiceNow platform show interest in using this capability before they go about doing that. And then, of course, we can do all of those things, and we can apply those same things to process mining for custom applications you may have created on the platform with App Engine. So like this example here of a material master request process. Process mining is going to work exactly the same against the custom applications as it would for an out-of-the-box application like Incident. The only difference is you're not going to be getting any of that pre-configured content that comes as part of the content packs for those workflows like ITSM and customer service management or HR, but you're going to be able to get some immediate insights. And it's still possible to get immediate insights, I should say, and we're going to walk through how to do that today. All right. Done with the 101. Let's dive into the specific topic here. So almost all of our customers are in similar situations. And if you boiled it down to a common theme, it would be like this concept of digital urgency, like a constant pressure to move faster than they ever had before and to transform with so many unknowns in their organization and just create new experiences to support their business. And to accomplish this, they're digitizing processes or digitizing manual work with App Engine on the Now platform. And as I was mentioning earlier, one of the biggest benefits to digitizing a process on the Now platform is you immediately get access to all of the intelligence capabilities. So you can start reporting on the process, creating KPIs for the process to track and trend its performance over time, and apply process mining to the process to get visibility into where the inefficiencies and opportunities to improve or streamline it exist. Our CIO, he's got a great line. One of the things that he said is that process mining allows us to innovate faster here at ServiceNow because we're no longer worried about getting the process 100% right the first time, because we know we're going to have immediate visibility into what changes and improvements we need to make based on what process mining is showing us, even if it's just a day or a week after rolling out a new application on the platform. Then, of course, just like if you were mining an out-of-the-box application, once you start finding the opportunities to improve using process mining, you have that direct connection to applications like continual improvement management or automation center to ensure those opportunities get captured, tracked, and prioritized. That's an important piece, as those who have been here before know, to make sure you start closing the loop when you start doing your process mining exercises, because there's going to be no shortage of opportunities to improve. You want to make sure that you're capturing, tracking, and prioritizing those, because you can't act on them all at once. Now, I did want to call out one additional thing here before we go into the how portion of this. Now that we're offering the ability to mine process data from external applications, we've had some customers that have shown interest in using that capability to visualize their current process on that external application to get an understanding of where the issues are, and then use those insights as a guide as they start to reimagine the workflow with App Engine on the Now platform. So, and then of course, once you have that process on the platform, you'll have continual visibility moving forward with process mining. So there's a whole academy session on that process mining for external data piece if you're interested in learning more about it. But I did want to call it out because it has come up a few times saying, hey, we're thinking about moving this application from over here onto an application that's running on the ServiceNow platform. Can we use process mining to get an understanding of what's going on so we don't make the same mistakes again as we redesign this process? It's come up a few times. I wanted to just kind of make folks aware that that's a possibility. All right, so how does this work for custom applications? How does process mining work for custom applications? What are the prereqs? What needs to be done? Well, first and foremost, remember that the basis of all process mining is data, specifically that audit log data about the changes that are taking place on records. So step one is to make sure that auditing is turned on for the table within your application that you want to mine. Right, this is turned on by default for the out-of-the-box applications, but for custom applications, you just want to make sure that you've done this. So to do this, you go to the dictionary entry record for the table, specifically the collection type record. And I'll walk through this in the demo portion. If you ever go to the process mining workspace and attempt to create a project and don't see the table you want to mine in the list of tables available to mine, it's likely that auditing isn't turned on for that table. Because we're only going to show you tables in which auditing has been turned on. So go check this record for the table if you ever experience that. The other important thing to be aware of is that the table you want to mine needs to be aligned to a subscription that has entitlement for process mining. So there are process mining entitlements for ITSM, CSM, HR, App Engine, the industry workflows, strategic portfolio management, or SPM, field service management. And those entitlements allow you to mine tables associated to those subscriptions. For custom applications, you need to make sure that the applications and associated tables you want to mine are associated to a subscription that has rights to process mining. So if you've built an application using, let's say, the tables or the allotment of tables that come with ITSM Enterprise, let's say, you need to make sure that that application is aligned to that ITSM Enterprise subscription so you can use your ITSM process mining entitlement to it. So it's an important piece. If you don't do that, you're going to get a message when you hit the mine button that says you're not entitled to mine these tables. When you get that message, you know what the reason is and what you need to do. There's a whole academy session out there, not a process mining academy session. I think it's a platform academy session focused on subscription management that you can use to help you get a better understanding of this process. Okay, so that's the data piece of the equation. Now what about content? The out-of-the-box workflows like ITSM and HR, they come with process mining content packs that have some pre-configured content for tables like incident and HR case. Those are meant to help you get jump-started with some pre-configured finding definitions that help identify some common improvement opportunities. Obviously, that content doesn't exist for your custom workflows, but it's not hard to set up some initial finding definitions, especially now that we have these automated findings. It's not hard to configure the root cause and cluster analysis for your custom application. So we're gonna do that today, and we're gonna do that in something called a process configuration record. So for every table that you want to mine, there should be an associated process configuration record. This record is the home to the rule-based and automated finding definitions for the table. I know, like I said, if you want to learn more about them, we have a recent academy session focused on automated findings that goes into a deep dive on each of these areas. You also configure the root cause analysis fields on this record. And if your process has any unstructured data, like short descriptions or descriptions, and you want to mine that you want to be able to mine and then set up clusterings for a cluster definition for, this is where you can link that cluster configuration to your process mining project, I guess is the best way to say it. We're going to go through and create one of these process configuration records for a little app that I've built just so you can see the mechanics of all of this. Okay, that's it from a how it works perspective. I think now let's jump into the instance and do a quick demo, then look at creating that configuration record and create our first project. All right, so what I wanted to do is just kind of, and I probably should just show this how to get here, because again, I think there's going to be some first timers based on the topic. So with process mining, where you kind of create projects, where you kind of do your analysis is someplace called the process mining workspace. So We would come into the process mining workspace, we'd have all our projects, and then you've got this one material master project that is based on a custom application that was created on the platform. Once you've mined that project and you open it up, there's a couple of pieces. First and foremost, you're going to be taken to a summary and insights page. And what we've done here is we've mined 1,600 material master records. Those material master records have taken 34 different routes to get to closure, and on average, it's taking them 1 day to get there. On this summary and insights page, you have a number of different things. You have this ability to create or to add a dashboard that has some key performance indicators or reports to it, to keep the person who's doing the analysis or interpreting the analysis aligned to the goals that we're trying to improve. Very often when we're talking about process mining, the KPIs that we're trying to improve are closure time or velocity-based type metrics, and then also reducing our backlog volumes. This summary and insights page also gives you visibility into improvement opportunities. These are based on finding definitions that we configure. So for example, here we have 2 rule-based finding definitions that are kind of surfacing these improvement opportunities. We might want to focus in on the material master requests that are taking over 2 days to close. In this case, we see that all of our demo data here is kind of falling into that category. At least 1,574 of the requests are doing that. And then we have some non-conformant material requests that are not aligning. There's some rework in the process. We're going back a step, these 44. And if we wanted to, we could look at any one of those right in the workbench in a single click and dive into the map. These improvement opportunities, we're going to go through and look at how you would configure these, as well as add this dashboard to a process configuration record in a minute. And then, of course, you have this ability to jump over to the analyst workbench itself and start looking for bottlenecks and opportunities to improve in the process map. So I'm just going to expand this out a little bit so we can kind of see some more of the details and maybe zoom in a little bit on the process. Yeah, that'll work here. So what we're looking at here is how things are moving through the material master process. On each one of the nodes representing a state or a stage in the process. In this case, this is our activity that we're focused on. You'll notice that there's some transitions or arcs between the different nodes. Those transitions and arcs, they give us visibility into the volume and the velocity of the data moving through them. So I can start seeing that traditionally things are going from pending basic data to pending MRP data, then moving into this state of pending sales. And then I see we go from pending sales to pending purchase. And on any one of these arcs, I can click on it and I can start getting some additional information about what's going on. Right? I can see here the total volume of unique records moving through it, as well as the total records, meaning the ones that might have taken the path more than once potentially. I can see the average duration as well as the median duration. And then I can start to use this histogram to get an understanding of, hey, are things repeating this step in the process, or are there any outliers from a duration perspective? Now, just looking at the data in this map here, I'm noticing that many of the transitions take less than a day to get done. They're measured in hours. But this one specific transition of pending sale data to pending purchase is taking on average over a day. And if I start looking at the histogram here, I can see that while a bulk of the tickets or requests are in that 0 to 1 day, there are a handful that are outside of the norm. So maybe I want to focus in and get a better understanding of these things that are jumping through the different step or taking a longer time to get through this one step of the process. I can do a number of different things here to dive into that, but I'm specifically want to call out, again, for the first timers, that I've got this transition filter over here on the left-hand side that I can use to understand this a little bit better. And this allows me to narrow the data down based on steps in the process and transitions. So let's say I want to look at those things that are going from pending sales to pending purchasing data. And I only care about the ones that are taking longer than 2 days to make that trip, my long runners. I can simply apply this and it's going to narrow it down to just those records. And I'll zoom in just again. And you'll notice now that I've narrowed it down to these 307 material master requests that are taking longer than 2 days. And you can see here, my histogram now from a duration perspective starts at 2 days to move through the process. Then I can do things like use my breakdowns on the left-hand side of the screen to get a better understanding of the types of material master requests that are taking longer than 2 days to move through that step, or let's say the different divisions that are working on it. And I can see here one problem area jumps right out, right? This Netherlands division, the majority of these requests that are taking longer than 2 days to move through the step are touching on them, right? Or going through that division or coming from that division. So maybe we want to narrow it down there. And then, of course, I can always get into the detailed records behind the scenes for these to dig deeper. One of the benefits to doing this in the platform is to be able to drill down to the records and analyze them further. Perhaps I've dug into this data. I now know that Netherlands is a problem area. I can do a couple of different things, right? Some of you have seen this before. I can come over here and I can add a note to have say, hey, at Able, check out what is going on in the Netherlands with updating purchasing data. Attach a snapshot and hit post. Great. Now Abel's going to get notified. He'll click on a link. It'll bring him into this project. He can preview. It'll bring him right in the same place in the analysis that I was. And then I also mentioned earlier that linkage with applications like continual improvement management or automation center, right? And perhaps Able is going to be able to identify that, hey, you know what? There's still a manual step in the process in the Netherlands. They don't have access to this new system. They're getting their sales data, let's say, from an old school mainframe, and maybe we want to create a bot to help automate the process of moving the data from that mainframe system into our more updated application. They would create an automation center request right here that would get logged in the set of requests to automate and create that bot. And then we'd be able to track and prioritize that gets followed up on, right? So direct linkage to those applications to help us close the loop from a continual improvement perspective. Now, I know that might have been repeat for some of you because you've seen process mining, you've been using process mining, but like I said, because we're doing a workflow-based topic here today, there might be a whole new audience who's never seen process mining before. All right. Now, at this point, let's look at some of those hows when it comes to a custom application. So just so you can see what we're going to do here is I created a little Academy app. Nothing special. I just wanted to create some basic records right here. So a new application, basic records. They're just tasks that I've created in this Process Mining Academy app table that we're going to want to mine. So the first step in the process for this, right, would be to make sure that this table has auditing turned on for it. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go over to my left-hand nav, and I'm going to say, hey, let's go to the dictionary. And then I'm going to search for my Academy app or table, Academy app table. Here it is. And we want to use this collection record, right? So if we open up this collection record, you're going to notice that that is where the auditing option is for the table itself, right? So I can turn auditing on and off here. So that's just basic. There's more advanced stuff that you can do in terms of auditing specific fields or not, but this general thing that you need to check is that auditing is turned on for this table inside of that collection record. That's step one. Make sure we have auditing turned on. All right. The next step is we need that process configuration record for the table itself. And that process configuration table is going to be stored underneath your process mining app. And if we come here to process mining configurations, you'll notice that I have a process mining configuration record for the incident table that came with the content pack. I've got one for that material master application that we were just looking at, or table that we were just looking at here. And so we can look at that. But now let's create one for my Academy app. So we'll say new. And we'll wait for my record to come up here. And I'll go find my table from the list. Academy. There it is, Process Mining Academy app. Great. We're going to link a dashboard to this. So I've got this Academy app dashboard. That's going to appear by default when people mine the project. We'll have that little dashboard there. Of course, you can customize it per project, but we want to have one for default. There's this solution called root cause analysis. So as you start drilling into the process map itself, you may have noticed when I clicked on any one of the nodes, there was a concept of root cause analysis. Here is where you would choose what fields you want to use and include in that root cause analysis. If somebody were to click on it, I think I have both priority and category. I'll save that. You also have this ability to set up your cluster analysis or link a cluster definition. So if you've got unstructured data and you've got a cluster definition set up to use that, you would link it to the project here. Typically, you're not going to use automation discovery as part of a custom application because it's based on taxonomies that come with different workflows. So you'll probably want to turn that off for your custom app. At this point, we'll save this record. And then you'll notice I'll get some related lists for my finding definitions. These are those improvement opportunities that you saw on that summary and insights page. And there's both two flavors, a rule-based finding definition, and then you've got your automated finding definitions. For your custom applications, it's probably going to be great to start out with a couple of automated finding definitions. And these automated finding definitions will help us identify patterns in the data like rework. So situations where work would go from step A to B to C back to A. And we can create a rework finding definition. We'll say this is going to impact our quality because we're doing the work again. What field do we want to use? Well, in my case, I'm going to use the state field. So we're going to be looking at rework based on the state field. And then what KPIs would this impact? Let's just say it's going to impact our academy quality score. And let's say it will impact our academy closure times or closure time of academy tasks. So that's a rework one, and we'll submit that. And maybe we'll add another one for ping pong to look at, see if there's work ping ponging inside of here. So we'll say ping pong, automated finding. We'll say that's going to be a performance issue. We'll say ping pong on state field, of course, and then give it a KPI as well. Don't need to link it to KPIs, but if you do have some, it's helpful to do that. We'll just say it's going to impact closure time as well. And we'll hit submit. So we've configured a process configuration record for that custom table aligned to my custom application, Process Mining Academy app. At this point, we're good to go, and we can go to the workspace and create a project for this data. So we'll go to the Process Mining workspace. We'll come in here, we'll say create new project. And we'll say Process Mining Academy for creator workflows. I could add a dashboard to this project. I don't believe that I need to because I already have the default one for this table set up in that process configuration. The first thing that we're going to need to do is we need to say, what table do we want to mine? Well, we want to mine that Academy app table that was part of my custom app. So we'll come in here, we'll say Academy app tasks. We'll pick our table, Academy. There's my Process Mining Academy app. This is that place if auditing wasn't turned on for this and you want to search for your table, it's not going to show up here. So if you ever come to this step, don't see a table, make sure auditing is turned on. Typically, we'll start scoping our data in this application. I've only got a handful of records in that app, but by default, you're really going to want to make sure that you're only focused on closed work. So all 10 of these records I think are closed, but you want to say active is false because when you start analyzing your data and your duration values, you want them all to be based on work that has completed the process. If you had additional things that you wanted to scope by, like time periods, and you wanted to scope it for certain categories of work, you would just keep adding conditions here. And now we'll save this. And then what do we do next? Well, of course, we want to add our activity definition. For the newcomers, an activity definition is what is the thing on the record that's changing over time that we want to track and look for bottlenecks between. Usually we do things like state and assignment group to start with. But if you want to look for, let's say, reprioritization issues inside of the organization or recategorization bottlenecks or challenges, you can apply, let's say, category as an activity or priority as an activity. So we've got our activity definition. We're going to look at how these tasks are moving through the different states in the process. And then we might want to add some breakdowns to analyze kind of or slice and dice that map, like we saw, that division of Netherlands in that material master example. So we'll come in here, we'll add category as a breakdown. I think I use that for this little app. And then we'll come and add, let's say our priority was another one that I had. It's a breakdown. So we'll add that. Last thing we need to do here is we want to make sure we take advantage of those automated findings that we just configured. So we're going to import process finding templates for this table. It's going to go find those two automated findings that we just configured, the ping pong and the rework one. At this point, we're done and we can generate our model. So what you do is you hit the mine button. This is going to go out. It's going to harvest the relevant data from the audit logs. It's going to pass that data off to the machine learning infrastructure to do the heavy duty number crunching. then it's going to spit that model, the finished model, back into the instance. So there's no impact on the performance of the instance as you're doing this mining. And here we go. We've got our first project. You notice that this dashboard came in based on that default dashboard that I set up in the process configuration record. I've got an overview of my improvement opportunities based on those finding definitions that we put in. And here's those automated findings that we configured, right? We've got that rework on the in progress step. So what this is telling us is that these 4 records went past work in progress once and then went back into the work in progress state. In fact, one of them touched work in progress 4 times. Then I've got the scenario where I've got work ping pong between work in progress. So we can look at those if we wanted to. All right, so we've got these automated findings. This is one of those answers. Yes, while we might not have a content pack for your custom applications, you saw just how easy it is to create these automated findings to start giving you some insights into potential opportunities or bottlenecks within your process. And of course, I can jump over here to my process map. And we've got our process map for our little custom app that we were talking about. We can start looking into how the records are moving through the process. And then I've got my breakdowns on the left-hand side of the screen, like priority and category. That's what it takes. It's not that difficult, right? So if you've got a custom application that you've built on the platform and you want to start getting insights into where the bottlenecks might be, where there might be rework happening, where things aren't conforming, and just in general, where there's opportunities to improve how that application is performing on the platform, and is it running as efficient as possible? Can you streamline it even more, make the experience better for folks? This is how you would go about doing that. All right, let's jump on back over here. Let's check to see if you got any questions. So I'm going to go over to the Q&A. If you've got any questions, things that we haven't covered so far, please put them in the Q&A. I'm going to see, it looks like there's some in here already. Okay, so just a general question about, like we talked about, like identifying the why. Do you have any tips and tricks or ways to help us get to the why? And yes, there's some very specific use cases and things that we help and we typically call out and focus on. And we cover those in something we call the process mining use case series. So if you've not seen the process mining use case series, I think we're now up to 9 use cases. So helping people identify like things like why things are breaching SLA, or hey, let's look for automation opportunities. And to do that, we use something we call a things that take longer to route than resolve use case. So what I'd recommend is kind of going over and checking out those use cases in those use case series and seeing if those help answer some of the questions that you have here. And another thing that we didn't really cover today because we didn't really have data to do it, but on the why side, very often when you get down to a set of records, being able to use the cluster analysis to look at the short descriptions, the unstructured data that's going on within a ticket, that usually helps narrow the data set down to an actionable thing that you can focus on next or improving. So that's what I would say there for the question around the why piece of it. Check out those use case series, I would suggest. Next question, just to kind of refresh the rules on the licensing for a custom application. So just from a licensing perspective, customers can gain entitlement to process mining through a number of different vehicles. It's packaged up with some of the enterprise offerings. There's also individual entitlement options for things for ITSM, CSM, HR, App Engine, SPM, field service management, as I mentioned before. So what you want to look at is one, work with your account team to kind of understand what you're entitled to. That's the first question. And then you just want to make sure that the application that you want to mine is aligned to one of those workflow entitlements that has access to process mining. That's the core of it and the crux of it. But best thing to do is always just check with your account team from an entitlement perspective, and we can work through getting you what you need. Sure. Question about what is automation discovery? So automation discovery is a platform solution that allows you to look for automation opportunities in a set of data. Specifically, there's taxonomies focused on ITSM and HR. And what it does is it uses the unstructured data in the tickets that you're mining there, and it maps it clusters that unstructured data, the short descriptions and the descriptions. It clusters those, and then it looks at those clusters and it tries to align them to a taxonomy of automation opportunities that we have packaged up for you. And usually those automation opportunities align to virtual agent conversations. So it tries to map to one of those. That way you kind of get a jump start in saying, oh, I see there's a lot of tickets coming in like this. And guess what? I have a virtual agent conversation for that type of topic that I could potentially deploy to help deflect some of those incoming cases. So it's use a little bit of machine learning underneath the covers. There's a whole session on automation discovery and its linkage with process mining. So if you really want to learn a lot more about it, go to the Process Mining Academy landing page. You're going to find an academy session specifically focused on the connection with automation discovery. But at a high level, it uses some machine learning to call out some potential opportunities, usually to use a virtual agent conversation. All right, got to the questions that came in so far. If you got any other questions, please put them in that Q&A section. But if you're not aware, there's a ton of other additional resources out there above and beyond what we have today, what we covered today. Just so you know, there's a Process Mining Essentials Now Learning course. So if you go to the Now Learning site, there's about a 90-minute session focused on the basics of process mining. If you do it at 2 times speed, it's only a 45-minute course. For those that are just starting out, we've got a really good white paper on how we've approached process mining here at ServiceNow. So it talks about the kind of the why of process mining. It talks about the kind of how we structured our program here, our process mining program, and then it runs through some of the initial findings that we had. Most of you already know this is probably how you found this session, but there's a community forum specifically focused on process mining. It's called a product hub, so you can kind of post questions there. We answer them on a daily basis. All of the content that we kind of create and share, we share on this community forum. So if you've not already checked it out, go check that page out. You're aware of the Process Mining Academy because you're already here, but if you just kind of stumbled on this in a haphazard way, these sessions all get posted on that community site. There's a page that's got, I think now this will be our 22nd session. So there's 21 other sessions out there that cover topics like automation discovery, like automated findings. So really, if you want to learn more above and beyond this, check those out. I mentioned already the use case series, but what these are short little 5-minute videos that kind of walk you through how to answer very specific questions using process mining, like that SLA breach analysis example, like a multi-hop scenario that you might want to dig into, like incidents that are or tickets that are taking longer to route than resolve. So the whole series, I think there's 8 or 9 recordings, 5 minutes long, that target very specific use cases to help you brainstorm and get started in terms of how you can get value out of process mining. And then lastly, there's a Live on Now session out there that walks you through everything you need to know to get started, what plugins to turn on, how to create your first project, kind of like we just did here today. What are the different analytical capabilities you can use, like that clustering piece to help you get an understanding of that unstructured data. That Live on Now session really digs deeper into in lots of different areas. All right, last chance for romance. I'm going to come back and just check the questions one more time and see if there's any other questions that we didn't get to today. Yep. So there's a question that came in about mining the task table. So to my knowledge, we don't open up the task table to be mined, at least not by default. There might be some special bells and whistles that we need to do to kind of open that up for mining, but by default, that's not able to be mined. But I'll definitely check in on that one to validate if there's a way to open it up, and if it's safe to open it up for mining. I'll post the response to that on the community forum page with this recording, because I'm not 100% sure if it's just a setting we need to adjust or if it's something that we're not going to allow you to do. And I want to make sure I clarify that for you. All right. Any other questions? Certifications. So the question about, is there a certification for process mining for ServiceNow? Not as of yet. It's something that we're exploring, but there's a whole process that we have to go through with our training and education department to get that certification put in place. So No certifications as of yet, but it's certainly something that people have asked about, and we're aware of the need and the want, and we're just got to go through the process to get it done. But nothing as of yet. Any other questions, comments, thoughts, feedback? Please put it in the Q&A. All right, if not, just so you know, what we've got on the schedule, and this is always subject to change based on any pressing things that come in or hot topics that people want us to cover. But the next session that we've got planned for February on the 23rd, we're going to focus on what's new in the Washington release for process mining. So there's a whole slew of new enhancements that we want to make sure we get out there and get covered so you can start taking advantage of them. We'll cover those in the February session. And then right now, as of today, the session we have planned for March is in Vancouver. We added the ability to add a process map widget to a dashboard. In Washington, there's another enhancement to that to help us look at incoming and outgoing work from a specific group, let's say, or state. That kind of takes it to the next level. So we wanted to make sure we had a session that covered both those capabilities because we're seeing a lot of interest in it. And also, one of the things that we believe that there's a lot of value for customers is to extend the reach of process mining, at least the initial visibility beyond that workspace to your process owners, to the folks on the front lines, or the team leaders that are out there. And this process map widget will allow us to embed some of the insights in dashboards that you're using on a day-to-day basis. So it's a valuable capability that we wanted to have a session out there on. So that's the plan right now. Obviously, always subject to change based on your questions and the demand that you bring to the table. A question about, is process mining going to leverage the new Gen AI capabilities that are on the ServiceNow platform? I will say safe harbor, safe harbor. There's definitely stuff in the works, but since we are recording this and posting this, I don't want to go too much into details, but I'm happy to have a follow-up conversation if you connect with me directly. But it's certainly something that we've explored, and there's definitely a number of opportunities to take advantage of it. Any other questions before we wrap up today? If not, just want to thank everyone again for their time. We'll look forward to your questions and the interactions that we have on the community site itself or via email. And then we'll see you next month. Thanks, everyone. Happy mining.